Hey everyone, Matt back for photo news and reviews, and big news today. Nikon has just announced the D5200. So all those people who've been asking me whether they should hold off on buying the 5100, we've now got the news, so let's talk it through. So they certainly like to keep us on our toes, don't they? Photo Plus in New York just finished, and Photo du Salon in Paris starts next week, and they're announcing it in between the two, not at a trade show. So it's just getting trickier and trickier for everyone who, has been finding it difficult already to choose between the 3200, the 5100, and then maybe even the 7000. Here comes an upgrade to the 5100, which in Australia they're calling a new entry-level camera. Surprising it's not an advanced entry-level like they were calling the 5100 before. So anyway, let's run through some specs. I apologize now, a lot of numbers are going to come at you, but if you're in the market for one of these cameras, you're probably familiar with some of these specs. Okay, frames per second, the 3200 and the 5100 were both 4 frames a second. The new one, the 5200, bumps it up to 5 frames a second. There's an advance. The imaging sensor is brand new. It's 24.1 megapixel, which is huge, up from 16.1 in the 5100, slightly lower than the 3200, which suggests that it's actually a brand new sensor, not the same sensor that's in the 3200. In terms of autofocus, I think this is the biggest upgrade out of everything on this new camera. It goes from an 11 point using the 1000 multicam system to a 39 point with a 2016 pixel sensor. So a huge leap in terms of focus points. Of course, that's really handy if you're using the whole section, so you don't just have that little collection of points in the middle. It's got the option to select from wider points in the scene. So that's a big jump, up to 39 from 11. Really, really big jump. ISO, it's pretty much the same as the 5100, maxing out at 6400, extending to 25,600, which is one stop above the 3200, the D3200. But interestingly, it's stating its base range as being 200 to 6400, whereas the others were starting at 100 on the spec sites. Interesting. They're all sporting 3-inch 921K variable angle screens. The new one does come with the option of wireless. They've just announced along with it the WRR10 wireless controller and a transmitter and transceiver, which is going to be compatible with the 5200. Of course, that's an optional extra you can pay for. The new one, it does have full HD. All of those cameras I'm talking about do. But at 1080p, it will give you the option of doing 60 frames a second, but it looks like it's not true 60 frames. They're interlaced, but there's some form of 60 frames a second at full HD on this 5200. Like the other two, it has a mic input, but it does not have a headphone output. And the other big improvement, I think, on this one is that it's jumping up to using the X-Speed 3 engine, which is their top-of-the-line engine that's in my D4. The others are using the older version X-Speed 2 engine. So jumping up to X-Speed 3 should mean faster processing and better results in terms of how it processes your files. Looking through the rest, it also adds in-camera HDR. If you're interested in that, it'll take a couple of shots and put them together to make a high dynamic range image in camera for you. They all have 95% viewfinder coverage. Another thing, the 5200 now supports UHS-1 SD cards, which is the new latest, greatest, fastest format, as well as the HC and HX, which the other two cameras already supported. Pretty disappointing otherwise though. The things that I would love to see and what separates something out in a big term for me is their shutter speed, and they all are still stuck in a maximum of 1/4000th of a second, and their flash sync speed is all at 1/200th of a second, which is entry level. They both offer 5 stops for exposure compensation, which is great. They both do 3-shot bracketing, and this one is ever so slightly, you won't even notice it, lighter than the 5100, 5 grams lighter. But the 3200 is 50 grams lighter, so that's a good 10% you will notice it. The 5200 is coming in at 505 grams stripped, or 555 with the battery, memory card and body cap on there. So pricing's to be determined. This has just been announced today, but you're looking at a serious improvement in autofocus technology, and I would say that will translate into a much snappier performance. It's also coming with, it's a brand new sensor, so I'm thinking the ISO performance is going to be you know, it should be better. It's a couple of years newer than the 5100. This new version of 60 frame per second video, that's an improvement. But then the other big one is jumping up to the X-Speed 3 engine, which for some people will mean nothing, but it is the latest and greatest technology. Those sort of, it's the brain, so it's like going to a new generation of Intel processor in your computer. You should notice a performance jump in everything that you're doing on the camera, especially when it's got more of those you know, one-click wonder functions in there, like the adding scene modes or HDR and that kind of thing. That should all be done a lot quicker because the new X-Speed 3 engine is far more powerful than the X-Speed 2. So there you go. As soon as one's available for me to test out, I will certainly get it in and do a head-to-head with my 5100. But just announced today, please do me a favor if you're thinking of buying any of these. Check out the links that I have below. It costs you nothing extra. They're all retailers that I can, you know, really recommend. Adorama in the States and Amazon as well. And then in Australia, Digital Camera Warehouse. Fantastic people to deal with. I'll get a little commission out of it. I'd really appreciate it. Please click to like, subscribe, share this with anyone that you think might be interested, and enjoy. I'll see you soon.